What's going on, guys? Welcome into this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Happy Thursday to all of you. Hope you're all enjoying your summer. For those of you in the KC area right now, probably staying indoors with this storm we've got right now. But got another storm brewing here in Kansas City. Just when you thought things were coming to an end, nope. We got some breaking news. The state of Kansas is set to extend the Star Bond deal going into July and expected to last for another 12 months. A lot of information has been released this afternoon regarding the Star Bonds extension in the state of Kansas. This is pretty big, and this does have a lot of people kind of shifting their opinion as to what they think will happen in terms of the future of the Chiefs. A lot to get into with that. Not a lot of Chiefs news, of course. We talked about last week how the Chiefs, they wrapped up mandatory minicamp, and I apologize, I'm being distracted. We do have more information that just came in. And I'm trying to do that as we're doing the podcast, live podcasting. That's we used to not do live podcasting, but that's the way things work now. But Jason Kelce, Jason and his brother Travis, of course, the co-hosts of the New Heights podcast, they had Chiefs guard Trey Smith on the podcast, and it was actually a really good podcast. I really enjoyed the conversation. They had a lot of things that they went over here. Jason had some very interesting comments about Chiefs rookie left tackle Josh Simmons. And I want to get into that because he said something that probably got Chiefs fans more excited about Josh Simmons than ever before. Is Jason Kelce right about this? We'll get into that on this podcast. Not a lot of topics here, but I will say the two topics that we're going to discuss, mainly the Kansas Star Bonds option, that is going to be the big bulk of the podcast here. I really want to hear from you guys because I know there's a lot of reactions to this online right now. Some positives, some negatives. Obviously, depends on what side of the state line you are. So I do want to hear from all of you guys. Obviously, talking Chiefs football. Before we get into the podcast, I want to let you know if you guys want to get tickets to catch the Chiefs live, or maybe your favorite NFL college football team. Maybe you're tired of your favorite baseball team struggling to score a damn run. Well, hey, no problem. Just give it another month and a half and you'll be able to check out some actual action here in the Kansas City area as the Chiefs will be back in the gridiron here. You can go to SeatGeek, get your tickets from there. I've got my Chiefs tickets ready for this season, all thanks to my friends over at SeatGeek. And if you're a new customer, you can use my promo code FARZIN and save $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets, and at checkout, use my promo code FARZIN if you're a new customer, and you'll save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. All right. Greetings from Phoenix, Florida. A lot of people chiming in tonight. Let's get into it here because this is a huge deal. We thought we were getting ready to see the end of this story. Nope. I will say this because to quickly recap this month, the Chiefs coming into the month of June, they already had their offer on the table. We were just kind of waiting to see what Missouri would do. And the state of Missouri had their special session after failing to have a vote last month. They kind of saved their own asses, if we're being honest here. And boy, they came through with that special session. It wasn't pretty. It was pretty messy, in fact. But in the special session, you saw them approve it in the Senate. It was around like 2:30 in the morning. I was about to say at night in the morning when that got approved. And then the House the same week voted to pass it. And then it was signed by Governor Mike Kehoe in the state of Missouri. And even though it was only 50%, there was a possibility that the county and the city would contribute. Now, Mayor Quinton Lucas did say on KCMO Talk Radio that this would be more than enough to keep the Chiefs and the Royals. His words, not mine. In fact, the mayor actually chimed in tonight. I'll get to his comments as well. So we're kind of just waiting And I thought the Chiefs were going to make a decision last week. That didn't end up happening. Instead, we're going into overtime. Missouri looked like they took the lead. And to finish my thought earlier about the 50%, if the Chiefs chose to stay and renovate Arrowhead, they would be spending less money from their own pockets as opposed to building a brand new stadium and contributing that way, which would be 30% in Kansas. But and that's estimating what the cost of a new stadium would be, because I've seen a lot of estimates thrown out there. However, seemed like Missouri was in the lead. Kansas came back. Missouri managed to run a couple of jet chip wasps, recover a couple of onside kicks, and they took the lead. But Kansas tied it with 13 seconds left to go. How do you like that for a football analogy? Speaking of football analogy, I think this is the perfect time to kind of get into things here. So Ty Masterson, who was the Kansas State, what's his exact title? Senate President for the state of Kansas. He issued first of all, let's give credit where credit is due. Pete Mundo of Mundo in the Morning on KCMO Talk Radio. He was the first to break this news. He reported this morning at about 6 a.m. that the state of Kansas has extended these star bonds. It's, I guess, not official yet. Pete, I guess, kind of got ahead of the punch there. It's kind of like when a free agent signs with a team before the new league year begins, but it can't be official until, there's ink on paper, as they like to say. So it's kind of that kind of thing right now. But Ty Masterson, the Kansas Senate president, he has called for an LCC meeting, which is Legislative Coordinating Council in the state of Kansas. And they are looking to basically meet on July the 7th at 2 p.m. I will be okay. I'm going to be I'm going to see if I can figure this out, because I will probably be on an airplane that exact moment as it's happening. But they are going to try to extend the star bond. Now, the way I see it right now, I think the star bond has essentially been extended. It has been. And by the way, for those of you chiming in, whatever your stance is, your opinion is all of this, positive, negative, I want to hear from all of you, because I'm already seeing some of the comments here. I know there are a lot of thoughts on this. And I've been eager to do this podcast ever since the news broke this afternoon. They're basically going to meet to officially extend it. Now, the state of Kansas, and this is where things get very interesting. Ty Masterson claimed that Chiefs president Mark Donovan reached out to the state of Kansas. In fact, he wrote a 2-page letter, and I'll read you the highlights of that, where Mark Donovan requested the state of Kansas to extend the star bonds. This is very interesting. Now, a lot of people, before I say anything, a lot of people have been saying that, Kansas is being used as a pawn in all of this. Clark Hunt has been posturing over the last year and a half. They're using Kansas as leverage to get whatever they want from Missouri. In fact, the Missouri Senators, they had a very interesting view of this when they voted on this during the special session. And I've seen some people on Twitter say this. And let me pull up his name. Curtis Gregory. I believe it was Senator Curtis Gregory from Missouri who said this during the special session earlier this month. He said if the Chiefs and the Royals wanted to take the deal from Kansas, they would have done it by now. That's what he has said, and that's what a lot of people for those who are part of that Kansas versus Missouri war, I've seen a lot of people from Missouri say that if the Chiefs wanted to leave, why haven't they accepted the offer from Kansas? And I'm going to get back to that comment/question there, because I think it's interesting. I'm going to read you some highlights from Mark Donovan's letter to Ty Masterson, as well as some LCC members such as House Speaker Dan Hawkins, several other members from the state of Kansas here, Brandon Woodard, several people who you'll recognize if you follow local politics closely. Mark Mark Donovan says in the first paragraph at one point, he says, together we have the opportunity to bring the National Football League to Kansas, anchored by a world-class domed stadium, new team headquarters, a state-of-the-art practice facility, and a vibrant mixed-use and entertainment district. That is very interesting. A couple paragraphs later, he says, we believe the foundation is in place for something truly historic, not only for our team, but for the future of the state's economy and national profile. The possibilities for job creation, tourism, long-term tax revenue, and regional pride are unparalleled. And this project has the potential to reshape the state's economy trajectory for decades to come. Later on, he says, at the same time, the complexity and the scale of the project and the importance of crafting a structure that works for all stakeholders make it clear that more time is needed to bring the effort to full fruition. In the next paragraph, which I'm not going to read, he's basically saying, he's getting to the point of the letter saying, we are asking to extend the Star bonds. The second and last paragraph, he says, we remain fully committed to this opportunity and have invested substantial time and resources into moving the project further. We have engaged in multiple rounds of detailed proposals and revisions with the administration. And in the final paragraph, he says, we are grateful for your continued leadership and support. We believe this project could mark the start of a defining new chapter for both Kansas and the Chiefs, and we look forward to continuing to explore that potential together. Does that sound like posturing? Does that sound like Kansas is being used? Does that sound like Kansas is being a puppet in this negotiating tactic? Don't get me wrong. I think this is a negotiating tactic indeed by Mark Donovan. Why wouldn't it be? Now, listen, how long did it take him to craft this 2-page letter? It's not even a full 2 pages, but it didn't probably take him that long. I'm sure, he and his people, the Chiefs, Clark Hunt, they all looked it over, made some revisions here and there to make it perfect and professional, all these things. But do you really think he would take the time to write this letter and request them to extend the Star bonds if Kansas was, quote unquote, being used? Man, if you're in the crowd that you think Kansas is being used, you might want to back off that stance right now. I'm not saying Kansas is getting the team, the Chiefs at least. The Royals, I think the Royals are on their way to Kansas. I have a hard time believing that the state of Kansas is going to get both teams. In fact, my prediction ever since the vote passed in Jefferson City has been that it'll be a 1-1. I've always said since the session that the state of Kansas will get the Royals, the Chiefs will get, Missouri will get the Chiefs. I will say right now, if I had to bet which state is more likely to get both teams, I'm leaning towards the state of Kansas right now. I mean, look at what Mark Donovan is saying here. We remain fully committed to this opportunity and have invested substantial time and resources. And in the previously in the letter, he also says, we believe the foundation is in place for something truly historic. Earlier on, he also says, together we have an opportunity to bring the National Football League to Kansas, anchored by a world-class domed stadium, new team headquarters, state-of-the-art practice facility, and a vibrant mixed use of an entertainment district. That does not sound like Kansas is being used here, folks. Now, again, this isn't Kansas, Kansas, I'm not going to say they took the lead here, but they sure as hell tied things up with 13 seconds to go. A lot of people thought Missouri was the one doing the tying with 13 seconds. No, Missouri was down by a lot of points, and they took the lead with 13 seconds to go. That's what Missouri did. Kansas is the one that tied this. Dude, this is going into overtime, and we're not talking sudden death or whoever scores a touchdown first type of over. This is college football rules with the potential. Those we had a couple of college football games that went into like 6, 7, 8 period overtimes. Yeah, we're in store for one of those type of overtime. Man, I kind of just want this thing to be over. I really do. Here's my thing. I understand that the Chiefs and the Royals They're about to make a monumental decision here. If the Chiefs choose to renovate Arrowhead, that's a decision they're going to have to live with for the next 20 to 30 years, knowing that they're not going to get a Super Bowl. I mean, I shouldn't say never, I guess, but I mean, yeah, sure, they went to New York or East Rutherford, New Jersey, technically for a Super Bowl. Have they gone back since then? No, they haven't. If they choose to build a brand new stadium, that is a decision they're probably going to have to live with for a very, very long time. I mean, at that point, Clark Hunt is going to pass on that ownership to someone else in his family. So I understand why the extension has been requested. At first I saw this and I thought, yeah, seriously? An extension? Really? Like, make a decision already. But then I thought about it more and I said, okay, look, this is a big decision that can't be undone here. I get it. So I will, and let me share this, because Ty Masterson shared his response publicly. Thank Mark for the letter and the recommendation, and Ty Masterson said he will recommend this to the state of Kansas to extend the deadline by 12 months. He does add, and I'm trying to find that exact sentence. I don't have it. Yeah. He says, although the law enacted, let me restart. Although the law enacted allows for an extension for a full year, it is my belief that the LCC will likely prefer to have this matter resolved by the end of 2025. As you rightly pointed out, this is a historic opportunity to bring the NFL to Kansas, along with a vibrant economic development, and it is vital to continue communication as we head towards the goal line. Ty Masterson has said in this letter that they are in the red zone right now. Ty Masterson's words, not mine. He ends up by saying, thank you for your leadership and continued effort on this significant and historic opportunity. Now, I did say that there is some more news that just came out as soon as we started the podcast. This is a statement from the Kansas City Chiefs on the Kansas LCC decision to consider extending the star bond deadline. Remember, it's not official yet. It's kind of like NFL free agency where a player signs with a team, but it's not official because the new league year hasn't started yet. That's kind of what this is. The Chiefs say, and it doesn't state who specifically, I assume it's Clark Hunt or Mark Donovan, but the statement reads, we would like to thank the Kansas legislator and the Legislative Coordinating Council, the LCC, for our constructive conversation Wednesday, and we appreciate their willingness to convene on July the 7th to provide an extension to Kansas Star Bond legislation. We continue to make significant progress toward a mutually beneficial agreement. However, these projects are complex and require due diligence on both sides. The LCC confirming to meet soon about an extension enables us to continue finalizing large pieces of the puzzle that would be required for this project in the state of Kansas. Again, this doesn't mean they've made their decision and they're moving. But it really sounds like that's where they're leaning right now. That's kind of where we're going here. Jessica says, I think a new stadium is a good idea. Layla says, I just want them to stay in the metro area. Don't move to a totally different state far away. That's what I've been saying for a long time. Scott says retractable roof. That's what I've been hearing. A lot of people are wondering if you can add a retractable roof or bring back the rolling roof if they renovate Arrowhead. I mean, the way that stadium is built, I don't know how a retractable roof would work. You would have to talk to an architect about that one. Robert says, as much as I love tradition and an old school Arrowhead Stadium, there's just something about a fresh state of the art stadium and coming into the 21st century. That's kind of what Mark Donovan's been saying. Mario says the Chief Stadium in Kansas would be 11 miles from where I am originally in Leavenworth. I was a season ticket holder in the 90s during the Marty Ball years. Well, you got a chance to be closer to them, I guess, Mario. Listen, I'm just telling you now, I don't care where they go. I just want them to stay in the metro area. I do think the Kansas deal is better. Not only is Kansas willing to offer a lot of the bill for that brand new stadium, but there are a lot of opportunities that come with it. And I've gone over it, but I'll say it again. Things like the Super Bowl. And I know the Chiefs will not be an active rotation for the Super Bowl to host it, at least. Hopefully they'll be going to more Super Bowls. They'll continue that tradition. But it's not just a Super Bowl you'd be getting. I think the state of Kansas, and specifically this new stadium, they've got an opportunity to bring a college bowl game every year. I've said before, what if you do the Heart of America Bowl brought to you by, Sony? I'm just saying Sony because that's my tripod and my camera right there, and it's both Sony. That you could do that. Obviously WWPLE, other event Final Fours. You can do a lot with a brand new stadium. And I think the Chiefs, they're seriously considering it. People thought, oh, nope, they're just using this to leverage, get leverage and posture against Missouri. No, this does not sound like posturing, y'all. Not at all. Let's see. Mickey also says, I don't care as long as he's in the area. Man U fan says, unless Missouri is going to help build a new dome stadium, I believe the Chiefs are going to the Legends. I'll tell you right now, before today, it sounded like it really did sound like Missouri was going to get something done. Now, I said I wanted to go back to something. Remember when Senator Curtis Gregory he made the comment at the special session in Jefferson City? He said that if the Chiefs and Royals wanted to leave, they would have done it by now because that Kansas offer has been on the table for a while. Okay, he's right to an extent. I mean, first of all, the Chiefs and the Royals, I think they want to hear all options and all offers that are on the table. That's why they haven't taken Kansas' offer yet. Second of all, because he has said if they were going to take that offer, they would have done it by now. Well, Missouri's offer was finalized and signed. My question is, if the Chiefs and the Royals really wanted to stay in Missouri, why haven't they taken that offer, that official offer from the state of Missouri? That's the question. That's $1 million question for me right now. Why hasn't the state of Missouri struck a deal? Because Mayor Quinton Lucas said on KCMO Talk Radio, after this was all finalized, well, I shouldn't say finalized because the Senate voted on it, then the House voted on it. And before it was on Governor Mike Keogh's desk, Mayor Quinton Lucas said this is enough to keep the Chiefs and the Royals in the state of Missouri. He said that. But they haven't signed anything yet. In fact, Mayor Quinton Lucas did respond this evening. I'm not going to read the whole thing, and I have it on my social media for you guys to check out. It's really a lot of nothing. It's basically him saying, yes, we understand there are good options all around. We understand that these things take time, is essentially what he's saying. He did say that Kansas City has assembled and shared with the Royals a unique, comprehensive, and unmatched offer to secure the future of the Royals downtown. That is not true. Look, listen, the Royals are not renovating Kauffman. That's not an option. They are done with the Truman Sports Complex, and I think the Chiefs should be as well. I'm just not a fan of that area. The complex itself is great. The surrounding areas, not so much. And I think that's why the Royals want to leave, and I think that's why the Chiefs are listening to all these offers here. But where he says a unique, comprehensive, and an unmatched offer, that is incorrect. That is absolutely incorrect. Listen, they're not renovating. So 50% or 70%. You got to go with who's offering more. And right now, that's Kansas. If I were to say right now, who am I 100% certain will make the switch to Kansas? I think it's the Royals. I know there have been some rumblings recently that the Royals might move to the Legends. The only site in Kansas that's really been talked about for the Royals is 119th and Null at the Hesperia campus, the former Sprint campus. And I will say this. I think in terms of land mass and parking, that is the best spot for the Royals. Everyone keeps saying Washington Square Park. Please stop. Have you not seen Washington Square Park? Go drive by it. It is tiny. There's no way in hell that area can house a baseball stadium. And for those saying, well, they can ask these buildings and businesses if they'd be willing to move. Well, they claim to have done that for that April 2nd vote. They claimed that they were talking to business owners at the crossroads, and that was not true. Those business owners all spoke to the media, and they're like, we have no idea what the hell they're talking about. We have not been in any communication with them. And the mayor, and I think he deserves a lot of blame for this because the mayor did endorse this. The mayor admitted he had no idea what the communication was like between the business owners and the Kansas City Royals. I mean, listen, I hope the Royals stay in the area, but they're not doing a really good job in terms of communicating with businesses. If you want to go to the Legends or if you want to go to the Hesperia campus, there's not a lot of negotiating that needs to be done with businesses there. That land, because apparently that the Hesperia campus, they own the contract, the what's the word I'm looking for? I just drew a blank. The contract for it. I'm trying to look it up right now as I speak, but basically the ownership of the land, the mortgage. That's the word I was thinking of. The mortgage. They own the mortgage on that. Basically, they own it. Listen, I don't think the Royals bought that so they can house a McDonald's and a Five Guys Burgers and maybe a small shopping mall in that area. No, that is because they want to move their stadium there, possibly. And I think that's the best side. Now, as far as the actual location itself, Overland Park is certainly an interesting spot for a pro sports team, I will say. I think traffic-wise, there are definitely some concerns there, but that land is pretty big to the point where you can make some adjustments with the streets there and adjust it to the point where it can work. So I think 119th and Null is a great spot for the Royals. As far as the Chiefs go, and the mayor mentions this in his statement, saying that they'll continue its active engagement with the Hunt family. Doesn't really say much, though. He basically says that the city of Kansas City plans to resolve for both teams to stay in the area. Let me just say this, because I've had some conversations, and Blake, I see you as well. You're saying you love Arrowhead, you love Kaufman, but Jackson County has go. Okay, you said that, not me. But I agree with you. I mean, Jackson County is not very well run right now. It's not. And listen, the amount of crime in KCMO lately. Did you see the reports last weekend? It was not a good weekend for Kansas City, Missouri. You still have some improvements with the potholes there. And listen, the mayor himself knows it. In fact, in the special session in Jefferson City, he got called out for it. The mayor. And I know some people are not happy about it, but I just don't know, like, what leverage does Missouri have? And I'm seeing some people say, oh, Clark Hunt's not going to give away the stadium his dad built, his dad's favorite place. Guys, I get there's a lot of nostalgia with Arrowhead and a lot of memories and all those stuff. Let me just say this. Lamar Hunt gave this stadium and this ownership, essentially, not the stadium, excuse me, because the Chiefs don't own the stadium, but he gave the ownership role to Clark Hunt for a reason, knowing that if any changes come down the line, Clark's the guy to make a decision on it, at least to make the final decision on it. Listen, for those who are saying stay at Arrowhead because that's what Lamar would want, you know what Lamar Hunt wanted? He wanted AFC and NFC championship games to be played on a neutral playing site. Do you think he would agree to that today, given that the Chiefs have hosted 6 of the last 7 AFC title games? Hell no. If we really did have these conference title games on a neutral playing site, dude, Arrowhead would have missed out on so much 6 of the last 7 years. Not one year where they didn't host it because too many receivers dropped the damn ball. They ended up going to Baltimore and they won. So, yeah, I mean, listen, we love the memories. I still remember before the renovations at Kauffman, before they put seats next to the fountains. I still remember my parents taking my brother and I to games back when there were hardly any seats inside the home run area. Not a lot of seating there. Now, I mean, there's still not a lot of seating there, but there's way more than before. But all good things come to an end. And the Chiefs, they have something big waiting for them in the state of Kansas if they take it. I mean, listen, at this rate, like if you're one of those people that is truly serious and threatening about leaving your Chiefs fandom and your NFL fandom altogether, okay. I mean, have fun watching reruns of the Golden Girls on Sundays. Like, what do I say? I don't really know. I mean, if the Chiefs are still playing at this high of a level in 2031, 2032, are you really going to turn your back on this franchise and go root for what? The Bengals or another team? I mean, I don't know. Speaking of the Bengals, they just cut a deal to stay where they are. I'm seeing, by the way, for people who are like, oh, Mark Donovan is such a bad person. Why? That doesn't make sense. Why is Mark Donovan a bad folks? Whether it's the NFL or AT&T, any business that exists in the United States of America or in the world for that matter, they are always going to do what's best for business. I don't mean to sound like Triple H, aka Apollo Levesque here, but they're always going to do what makes sense financially. Yes, the Chiefs would have to spend possibly a little bit more from their own pocket if they move to Kansas, but that is going to be made up for in the long run. And trust me, they're not going to. This new stadium in Kansas is not just going to be Chiefs home games. Dude, there will be some events there. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Arrowhead gets much activity. You get a couple concerts in June, July, August, September during that time frame. I know there's not going to be any right now because of the renovations with the FIFA World Cup and whatnot. But Arrowhead right now gets a couple concerts a year. They get a college game or two a year. Obviously, the Jayhawks used their stadium for a few games because they were going through renovations with their stadium. I mean, at this point, like Arrowhead is not being used for much. Couple college games here, that's not much. You go to the state of Kansas with a dome, I guarantee you there are going to be some high school games played there. Or at least they're going to try to schedule some. I don't know how it would work logistically. I think the Chiefs would have to definitely be away for a couple of weeks to make it all work. But I think that's on the table. I think you could get college bowl games there. I would imagine K-State and the Jayhawks would love to do something that they do for basketball, where they play one home game at this new Arrowhead, whatever you would call it. Where's the World Cup going to be played? It'll be played at Arrowhead. It'll be there this year. Now, I mean, obviously, and by the way, for those saying why are the Chiefs and the Royals in a hurry, guys, you can't wait until December of 2030 and say, yep, we're going to build a new stadium. That takes time. I go to Vegas frequently. Allegiant Stadium took about 4 years to build there. I mean, I still have pictures from the plane flying above Allegiant Stadium. And dude, that thing started in like late 2016, 2017, somewhere around there. I mean, they were working on that thing for quite some time. So at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen, but the Chiefs do have serious potential on the Kansas side. For anyone that thought this was posturing or that Kansas was being used, I don't think so. That letter from Mark Donovan, that does not say anything. That does not indicate any kind of posturing or any of that on the Kansas side for the state of Kansas. Kansas seems like they've got something serious brewing here. If you're Missouri, if you are desperate to keep these teams, and I know a lot of people talking about the economic impact that the state and specifically Casey Mo will have if they lose one or both teams, dude, you better change your offer. Here's what confuses me the most. The state of Missouri knew what Kansas was offering. In that special session, when they were discussing this bill, they admitted it. They said, if I were the Chiefs or the Royals, I would take the Kansas deal because it's more than the Missouri deal that we're potentially going to offer. They admitted it, and they still approved it, which makes no sense. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like you really want someone's business, and you know they have a better offer from someone else, but you're still going to undercut them. That made no sense to still move on and give a 50% offer. I know there's possibility of the county and the city to get involved, but Mayor Quinton Lucas said himself that what Missouri did to pass it was more than enough. His words, not mine. And listen, we love Arrowhead. No one hates Arrowhead. But the stadium is what, 50, coming up on 54, 55 years? They've gone through two major renovations already. Here's my last thing on this, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, because more than a third of NFL stadiums are indoors. By 2031, even if the Chiefs do not get an indoor stadium, more than half of the NFL stadiums are expected to be indoors by 2031. If the Chiefs do move, well, then they're part of that statistic now. They're going to be part of the majority. I mean, indoor stadiums are, less than more outdoor stadiums, but by 2031, we'll have more indoor stadiums than outdoor stadiums. So that's going to become a thing. My point is, you're going to see damn near every NFL team move in that direction. And for people who say, oh, well, teams that play indoors don't usually do well in January. Well, a lot of them are going to be playing indoors anyway by 2031. I don't think that's really a big factor at this point anymore. I mean, sure, maybe Lambeau Field stays because that's the pushback I get. Do you think Lambeau Field will get an indoor stadium? Buffalo's probably not going to get an indoor stadium because they're building a brand new stadium right now that should be ready to go for 2026. You kind of have to live with that for several decades, however many decades. But man, at the end of the day, I just think that you're going to see, and maybe we're not going to be here, and maybe the next generation might not see it, but at some point, you're going to see almost every single NFL stadium having it played indoors, essentially. Yeah, Layla, I agree. And a lot of people have said this indoor stadium with a retractable roof is ideal. That would cost more. And I'm wondering if maybe this is the holdup. Is that why we have a 12-month extension here? Because they're trying to figure out that logistic? Dion says, here's the part nobody has said. The Chiefs and the Royals probably approached Kansas about the possibility of the move. There's an assumption of poaching, but if Clark and Sherman explore the possibility of moving, that's not a violation of the anti-poaching agreement between the states. See, I know Mayor Quinton Lucas keeps bringing up how this is a violation of the border war truce or whatever, but that was never even a thing. That was never mentioned. The states were never a thing. And if you want to, even Mayor Quentin Lucas this morning was talking about how this is a violation. Dude, get over it. At this point, no one cares. Do you really think that if you keep saying it, the state of Kansas is going to say, oh, okay, yeah, okay, all right, we're done. Missouri, we're sorry. Here you go. You keep the teams. No. But here's what I want to say, because I mentioned all the stadiums that have been that are going to be played indoors by 2031. If the Chiefs choose to renovate, let's say the Chiefs renovate, Clark Hunt has to live with that for the next 20 to 30 years. Clark Hunt turned 60 years old this past February. So by the time Clark Hunt is 80 to 90 years old, hopefully he's alive and still kicking. Then you have to consider a new stadium, and that will take a couple of years to build. And you won't get a Super Bowl right away. And if the Chiefs chose to renovate Arrowhead and decide to kick the can down the road for a brand new stadium, Clark Hunt would probably be 100 by the time the Chiefs host the Super Bowl. I don't think Clark Hunt wants to risk those odds. I think Clark Hunt's looking at this and saying, look, I'd love to see at least one Super Bowl hosted in Kansas City. Might be KCK and not Casey Mo, but I'd like to have it happen at least once. Let's bring that to Kansas City. And I know Neil Smith was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago talking about how they would need to build more hotels. I know the Hotel Margaritaville just opened up recently. I don't know the capacity for that. Listen, I'm not familiar with hotels in the Kansas City area because I live here. I've never really needed to stay at any of the hotels. I think I've only stayed at one hotel once. My dad had a free room at one of the casinos. So I ended up, my family and I just ended up staying there for New Year's of all holidays. It was actually a lot of fun. But yeah, I'm not too familiar with the hotels in the Kansas City area. But in fact, for those of you who are watching, I don't know where all of you are. Some of you guys said where you guys commented from: Phoenix, Florida, Kentucky. Saw all those comments earlier. For those of you who are not from Kansas City or don't live in Kansas City, when you visit Kansas City, what hotel do you guys stay? Just comment below. Let me know the comments here, because I don't know these things. I live here. I've only asked this question once, and it was several years ago. So I'd be curious to know if you guys can educate me on that right there. Let's read Instagram. I know we don't read Instagram comments often. Jamman _23 says Jackson County has also had plenty of time to make the area around Arrowhead better. I'm glad you said that, because the mayor did say on one of his live streams that they can do more to activate the area around Arrowhead and the Truman Sports Complex. My question is, why haven't you done that already? I agree with the comment. You've had plenty of time to do that, but you haven't. Layla says one thing that would be great about a dome, Kansas City could finally host WrestleMania or a Final Four. WrestleMania would be great. I just wonder if they would really pick a market like Kansas City, because I mean, listen, if we're just being honest here, Kansas City's not a big market. It's more of a medium-sized market here. Now, I will say, if you build an indoor stadium, I think you certainly increase your chances. You have Bartle Hall you could use for the what the Fan Fest that they use for WrestleMania every year. Then you have the T-Mobile Center, in which you could use it for SmackDown and the Raw, the SmackDown before WrestleMania and the Raw after. Yeah, you certainly have that option for sure. And then WrestleMania would be on the Kansas side. But yeah, I think Clark Hunt, if he wants to do this, I think he wants to be alive and see it. Because if he renovates, by the time the Chiefs decide to build a new stadium in 20, 30 years, possibly, you may not be around for that. I think he wants to see that come to fruition in this stage of his life. That's my one big thing here. Listen, I know I said in mid-June that I felt like Missouri was going to keep the Chiefs. I'm telling you right now, if I was forced to bet who's going to get the Chiefs, I think it's got to be Kansas at this point. Like, what leverage does Missouri have right now? Oh, we have an iconic and nostalgic stadium. Okay, that's it. Give me a business reason. I can't think of one. The only thing Missouri can do right now, and I don't know how this works in politics, if you can call for another special session and try to improve the offer, because 50% is a joke. The Senators themselves admitted that Kansas has the better offer, and they still undercut the Chiefs and the Royals. Now, yeah, I know there are tax breaks involved in all of that, but still, that can be made up with the new state, at least for the Chiefs side of things. The Royals, man, Washington Square Park is a joke. That's not going to work. That is not going to work. Listen, I don't know how this is all going to end. I know there have been so many different conflicting reports over the last several months, but I don't know. Kansas just feels like they have leverage again. They really do. We'll see how that all works out. I'm sure the commentary in the next few days is going to be very interesting, especially what is it? July the 7th. That is a Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, that is when they're no, it's a Monday, excuse me. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting. A week and a half from now. We'll see what happens then. April says, I'm fine with the team going to Kansas, but I'll miss Arrowhead after going there for 40 years. They'll always be with team. Yeah, listen, I think a lot of us feel the same way. Of course, no one is going to be thrilled to leave Arrowhead, but I think at some point there is time for change. And I think that time is now. I do. I've always said the Kansas offer is the better offer, not just because they're offering a higher percentage for the project, but also the opportunities that come with this project. So we'll see what happens. Real quickly here, I do want to talk about something Jason Kelce said on the New Heights podcast. Jason and Travis had Trey Smith as a guest. It's actually a great podcast. Go check it out. But they asked about Josh Simmons. And Trey Smith, gave some. And by the way, I think you can tell this was recorded. Obviously, this was recorded, I think, a couple of weeks in advance, because Trey Smith talks about how Josh Simmons had not practiced yet. So obviously, this was at least 3-4 weeks ago, because Josh Simmons has been practicing more recently with the Chiefs, at least before mandatory minicamp wrapped up. And the report is it's Andy Reid's word that he's going to be a full go along with Rashee Rice. Jason Kelce chimed in, and he actually had more to say about Josh Simmons than Trey Smith did. So I'm going to read you the quote here from Jason Kelce. He says, to me, watching the tape in college was absurd, and he means that in a good way. The athletic ability and size, Trav knows because I've been watching this dude and I've been preaching it. I've watched a lot of these linemen coming out of college the last few years. This kid, he is the closest thing I've seen to Trent Williams, like that next level in strength and athleticism. Those are some big words from Jason Kelce. I mean, that is quite the ringing endorsement to compare him to Trent Williams. Trent Williams is a future Hall of Famer. Look, I understand that these first-round draft picks, they don't get compared to, like, no quarterback drafted in the first round is going to get compared to Nathan Peterman. They're just not. No one's going to compare an offensive lineman drafted in the first round to Orlando Brown. You're just not going to get that comparison. I get it. But to compare someone to who is arguably the best tackle in football right now, whew, that is, I mean, boy, you're giving some high praise. That is above a ringing endorsement here. Listen, I'm cautiously optimistic about Josh Simmons. I'm not ready to compare him to any Hall of Famer. I think the Chiefs had a great draft, but listen, you ultimately never truly know until you see these guys on the field. Really. Josh Simmons is a very important player in this draft because Kansas City, they have gone through a carousel of left tackles ever since they cut Eric Fisher. Who they get? Orlando Brown first. He didn't work out for a couple of years. They go and they sign Donovan Smith. They draft Wanye Morris the same year. Doesn't work out. They draft Kingsley Suamataia. Doesn't work. They get DJ Humphries off the street. Doesn't work. They shift Joe Thuney over to left tackle. I thought Joe Thuney did great in the regular season. I feel like in the playoffs, Thuney gradually took steps back, and then the Super Bowl was a complete mess, as you all know. But still, I would argue right now, Joe Thuney has been your best left tackle since Eric Fisher, and that is not ideal. You have to move your all-pro left guard to left tackle because the 100 guys you tried did not work out. What's the difference this time around? Well, Josh Simmons is a first-round pick, and the reason he almost fell out of the first round is because of the injury he suffered last year, right before the midway point with Ohio State, missing out on that championship run. So had it not been for that injury, a lot of people feel like he would have been a very high draft pick. Lager Duzabal mentioned that even though he likes all the offensive tackles that were taken, he still feels like Josh Simmons was the best coming out of college football and going into the NFL. So I think the way, because I'll say this, Josh Simmons and Kingsley Suamataia, those are my two most important players in training camp. How are they looking at left tackle? How's Kingsley looking at left guard, making that transition to interior offensive line? And then those three preseason games, man, I don't know how much those two are going to play the last preseason game, but the two that they're going to play the most, the first two, those two spots I'm watching the most, and they're right next to each other, so it's going to be easy to pay attention to. Those are the two players I want to see the most. Those are the two players I have the most questions about. I need a good training camp from Simmons and Suamataia. I need to see them play well in the preseason. Because if we get that, it'll give me some optimism going into the regular season, going into that week 1 game in Brazil against the Chargers, that Patrick Mahomes has a viable offensive line to work with. If Patrick Mahomes has that protection this year, oh, by the way, Xavier Worthy just got a good rookie season under his belt. Oh, by the way, Hollywood Brown is back. Oh, by the way, Rashee Rice. What if he comes back and picks up from where he left off before the injury? That's a pretty scary thought if you're the opposing team, if you're the defense. Those are the types of things opposing defenses have to worry about. Because if Kansas City does have a better offensive line this year, and I think they will, I think Simmons is the answer at left tackle. I think Kingsley Suamataia is better suited for left guard, and I think size-wise, the game will be better for him at left guard than left tackle. Then at this point, all Patrick has to do is just find the open guy, which is not difficult to figure out in an Andy Reid offense. I know Travis Kelce's numbers were the lowest they've ever been in his career last year, but keep one thing in mind. And I think that the lowest they've been since 2014, to be clear. Keep one thing in mind with Kelce. And ESPN put this on their analytics. Kelce was one of the best pass catchers in the NFL last year in terms of getting open. The problem was Patrick Mahomes dealt with defenders in his face so much last year. And I've been going back rewatching some Chiefs games recently. And if you don't have the time to watch all of the full length of these games, go to YouTube and just type Chiefs versus whoever they played last year and then follow that with highlights. And you'll get the general idea. Patrick Mahomes dealt with defenders in so many games. The Broncos game where the Chiefs won by a blocked field goal. The game against the Panthers where the Chiefs won by the skin of their teeth there. Remember, Spencer Schrader made that game-winning field goal. with time expiring, the offensive tackles in that game did Patrick Mahomes no favors. I feel like the offensive line is going to be better this year. If the weak link on this offensive line is your right tackle, Patrick Mahomes can manage that just fine. It's the left guard and the left tackle spots that need to be solidified. That's what needs to happen. And if you've got an offensive line, Patrick Mahomes will be just fine. Listen, I've said this for a long time. As long as Patrick Mahomes has a good offensive line, he can throw the ball to anyone. Now, those players have got to catch the ball. It can't be like 2023 where you had Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, MVS just dropping passes left and right. Can't be like that. But as long as he's got the pass protection, he can throw to anyone and be fine. The good news, he's got Kelce back, and I think Kelce will be better this year. And there's a lot of speed on that offense there. They've got Juju back also. They've got Jalen Royals, who they drafted, 2 players who I think are going to be good depth players for this offense. We'll see Nico Remigio, Tyquan Thornton, what they'll offer this preseason, but I like Kansas City's offense here. If the only weak link is your right tackle, it's going to be very manageable. I'm excited to see what happens there. Real quickly, before I sign off here, I did not realize, by the way, the NBA draft turned into a 2-day deal. That was new to me. When did that start? I have no idea. When did the NBA draft become 2 days? Oh, so it's right there. One of the many things. 2024. That's when it started, last year. Okay, good to know. Well, last night's coverage on ESPN was not good. ESPN, I think their production team definitely is going to have a meeting about how to go about certain things because the coverage was bad. So before the draft got underway, they're showing, I don't know who they're showing, but they're showing one player. And they start from their feet, and the camera shot goes up. You see their hands right here, and then you see their face. And whoever's hosting is saying, "Oh, is that Cooper Flag?" Oh, nope, not Cooper, because Cooper Flag is white, and whoever they were showing was black. So once you get to the hands, which are right in front of the chest, you immediately know it's not Cooper Flag. And then they show the same player again, head to toe. Toe to head. They're starting low. They're going up. Oh, is this Cooper Flag? Nope, it's not. It's like, how do you screw that up? Not once, but twice. And then later in the draft, this is where things got interesting. The Trailblazers drafted Cedric Howard from Washington State. On ESPN, they announced it as Colin Cowherd. And I saw the meme, and I saw an AI photo of Colin Cowherd wearing a Trailblazers jersey, and I was confused. I was like, what does this mean? I guess he got traded to the Grizzlies, so neither here nor there, though. I heard the blunder this morning. Oh, boy. Boy, they really screwed that up. How do you screw that up? I mean, Cedric, Colin, come on. I mean, listen, if you're an NBA analyst or if you're hosting an NBA draft show, you should know the names of these players by now. I mean, if you saw a name, there's a player named Colin Murray Boyles. Is that who she got mixed up? I don't know, but that was not good from a production standpoint. But hey, blunders happen. It's live TV. Everyone looks back at these things and they laugh at it. But that was pretty. I mean, that's one of the more egregious errors I've seen. The Cooper Flag one, not once but twice, and then also the Cedric Cowherd confusing him for Colin Cowherd because they're so easy to confuse. But oh well, shit happens. What are you going to do about it? All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Chiefs Zone podcast. Thank you all for tuning in, watching live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Appreciate all of you guys. And for everyone who checked out the podcast later in its archive format, I appreciate you guys as well. A lot of things we covered here on this episode of the podcast. We will be back next Wednesday. We'll see if there's any more additional information on the Kansas situation with the Chiefs. We'll see if there's going to be any Chiefs news, as it is that time of the year where there isn't a whole lot of NFL news, but we'll see if anything comes up between now and then. Until then, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. I will talk to you all later. Take care.